Alrighty, welcome to another video. Today I got a guide on smokes, how to use them effectively, and everything that I think you need to know about them. I do think they're extremely underappreciated, although that is slightly shifting about time. But before we get into the actual mechanics, let's have a quick discussion about smokes. What do they actually do? What are they used for? Why are they good? Why are they bad? In terms of quote unquote, why are they bad? They don't do any damage, but that doesn't necessarily make them bad. That's just a misconception that you may see online, that if something doesn't provide damage, it's bad. But the real equation for smokes is in the 30 or 15-second time frame that they exist, will they deny more damage than you can output per grenade relative to the frag and crack? And the higher difficulty you go, it's not even a close comparison, because yes, absolutely, can smokes deny far more damage than shredders or cracks can output in a 30-second window. Simple as that. The easiest way to look at smokes is like a bubble. It's in between a bubble and stealth. Now, smokes will be primarily used into ranged combat, just like a bubble, although there are things that you can do to help against melee combat that I will show you in a moment. It is another misconception that smokes are useless into melee combat, but that's just not true. There is a little bit of nuance, but I'll go over that in a second. Okay, so we've established it's like a bubble, but unlike a bubble, smokes don't have health. So the higher difficulty you go, for the purpose of this guide, let's talk about EFL 2 and Havoc 40. A Psycho will put up a bubble in the open, 3 to 5 Reapers start shooting at it, 5 seconds, 3 seconds, maybe 8 seconds, that bubble is going down. God forbid there's any stalkers or elite gunners there, it's just gonna go down even quicker. Whereas smokes don't have a health bar, they will last for the full 15 or 30 seconds, depending on if you have Grenade Tinkerer, and they also act as a line of sight blocking terrain. So whereas the bubble is effectively a shield that has health, smokes apply a debuff or a buff, depending on how you look at it, into a certain portion of the map, and it will last there for the full amount of time. Now, what makes smokes better than cracks or even shredders at times at high level? Ranged gunners are typically the #1 threat. They're the highest DPS. If you leave them unchecked, they're gonna eat all your dodges and they're just gonna whittle you down very quickly. Now, I've heard the argument that smokes are bad the lower difficulty you go, and I partially agree with this because gunners are less of a threat the lower difficulty you go. Below Havoc 30, you only have EFL 1. In Auric and below, you don't even have EFL. However, my argument is smokes are still useful because even without EFL 1 or 2, gunners are still very oppressive. And if you're playing at your skill level, well, basically an Auric, let's say your skill level is Auric, right? Well, the smoke is still going to have the same amount of protection into that Auric gunner relative to my Havoc 40 gunner. I hope that makes sense, but I think a lot of people write off smokes in lower difficulty too much. I think as you start getting to like Heresy, maybe Damnation, Auric Plus, start to tinker with smokes, there will be enough elites and specials for them to be useful. But that's kind of like all the grenades, you know what I mean? They kind of get more useful as the game gets harder, there's more density, blah blah blah. That's not something unique to smokes. Alrighty, now let's look at what smokes actually do. There's one thing that I want you to look at. See that green arrow as I'm standing in the smoke? That is my concealment buff. Everything that I'm about to talk about happens while I'm in this concealment buff or have it active. When I walk out of the smoke, you'll notice there's a little timer, it goes away. I go back into the AoE of the smoke, I get my concealment buff. This little trick of moving in and out of smokes is very useful, but typically you will be fighting inside of them. But as you get higher in skill level, I'll probably show this in a different video, how you want to use this in like an actual combat scenario of like weaving in and out of smokes. But basically, because that smoke acts as a line of sight blocking terrain, let's say there was a Reaper behind here, I could go left, right, not get any suppression, it's gonna fuck up at shooting. Same thing with this smoke. Sit in the smoke, come out of the smoke. Sit in the smoke, come out of the smoke. It's the same thing, I'm creating terrain with smokes. Now, smokes into melee combat. There is some nuance. If a melee enemy is already engaged in melee combat, smokes will not have an effect. However, you can set up melee engagements before they happen with smokes. So let me find the demon host, I wanna show you something. So let's ping 13 meters, let's see when this demon host turns on. 6 meters, you can see we start to trigger it until eventually it will wake up. Alright, now we have demon host number 2. Now I do wake it up because I'm terrible with the AoE of the explosion, but as you can see, let's throw another smoke. It's not waking up. I'm quite literally 5 meters away and it's got no idea that I'm here. Because it hasn't fully engaged yet, the melee trigger distance of the demon host is getting reduced, whereas look at this demon host. Look at that. You can instantly tell the difference. And that's only like 8 meters away, right? See, it fully triggered. Whereas with this demon host, nothing. It does not care. Because it hasn't been fully triggered by melee combat yet, it has reduced melee trigger distances. Now, how is this useful in an actual game? As you're moving throughout the map, you can isolate packs of enemies and fight them one at a time without actually triggering or pulling the next pack. So at any given time, you're effectively reducing the amount of melee enemies you're in combat with, period. Now, if there's a horde situation and everything's triggered and just running at you, that's a little different. Now, in terms of dogs, they're just gonna run around the smoke. They won't enter the smoke, giving you basically an extra 30 or 15 seconds to deal with them. Basically, they won't put any of their pressure on you. So if I spawn a dog, I place my smoke, got no idea, just gonna keep running in circles. That's it. Dogs for the next 15 to 30 seconds, as long as you and your team stay in the smoke, are at no threat to you. Alright, in terms of trappers and flamers, they'll need to get much closer to you. Again, reducing the amount of bullshit things that they can do, like shooting at you through like 20 bulwarks or 20 vanguard. So no smokes, about 8 meters, and he'll shoot, then run away. Right, now remember he was 8 meters away. See how big of a difference this is? He gets close enough for me to push attack him every time, stopping his trap. Amazing, chef's kiss. Now, one thing I want to talk about but can't really show you is typically you'll have your nameplate above your character. When you're sitting in a smoke, it actually removes the nameplate for you and your allies within the smoke. So just keep that in mind. If you feel like you lose your teammates or you're not sure where your teammates are because you can't see their nameplates, that's because they're in the smoke. I have no idea why they do that. I'm assuming it's just tied to the conceal buff, which I think is stupid. As far as visual clarity goes, you should never be removing a teammate's nameplate, in my opinion. Not in a PvE game anyway. Alright, and the last thing, this is why smokes are better than bubble in my opinion. Let's say you have a bunch of reapers, these will absolutely murk a bubble within a few seconds. I sit within this smoke, they're just going to shoot at my last known position. They've got absolutely no idea that I'm here. Now you'll see them move around. This is because smokes do two things on top of like the visual smoke itself, as well as the conceal debuff. They apply a stagger and suppression on their explosion. When the smoke grenade explodes, it applies a suppression effect in a 15-meter radius, and it will also apply a light stagger in a 10-meter radius. But you can see how quickly I got munched, and now with the smoke active, they're just they're stupid, okay? They're stupid. Now that smoke concealment buff will work against everything, including snipers. As you can see, his laser went instantly off. He's got no idea that I'm here. Because he can't see me, he's not going to put down his laser, blah blah blah, this and that. But this concealment debuff does work against all ranged enemies: stalkers, reapers, gunners, plasma gunners, snipers, flamers. Now bear in mind, to my knowledge, smokes have no effect on bombers, but that's fine. You don't need smokes to work into those type of enemies because of how effective they are into everything else. Now that's everything with smokes as far as all the mechanics go, and everything that you need to know about what they're actually doing in-game. Now the next part is actually to use smokes in your games and learn how to use them within each map, because smokes have some of the highest skill expression in the entire game. The better you get with smokes, the better your knowledge of maps, the better your knowledge of spawns and timers. You can think about cutting up and engaging every part of the map before it's even happened. Your allies will have no idea and won't love you for it, but with proper practice and knowledge, you can make every single engagement easier before it's even happened. Anywho's, I hope you learned a thing or two. If there's anything that you feel like I didn't touch on, let me know in the comments. My brain's not fully working, it is what it is. But catch you in the next one. God bless. 07.